Hello, everyone, and today I am going to be working on a build series for the Gozanti cruiser. So, you're going to see me, right now I'm modeling the frame for Zed Vessel. I'm starting with the front, so I'm going to start from the bridge and work my way back. And I'm going to show you guys exactly how I build all the crazy stuff that I build. It's pretty meticulous. Meticulous. uh, I put a lot of attention to detail, and I pretty much hand make everything I make, as you can see here. Just so right now I'm getting the shape of the build. Um, this is I know it looks a lot like a box, but it's it's probably it won't look like a box when it's done. I could assure you. I mean, it might look kind of like a box. The Gozanti was pretty boxy, but this it's going to be a Gozanti cruiser, and I'm also cheating a little bit. As you can see there, I am basing it off the Mandalorian Gozanti cruiser, since I already did the original style. I actually really like the new style a lot. Um, I'm really excited. Basically, really excited to get this thing up and running. But yeah, as you can see, so the Gozanti cruiser is 64 meters long, and the building zone that I have to work with in Stormworks is about 54 meters long. Um, so the reason why the front is cocked off to the side like that is actually so I can make it 1-to-1 scale. So the front end is going to it's gonna fold. It's gonna do it's gonna be some origami. There's gonna be some origami stuff going on. Yeah, right now I'm working on the windows. Getting frustrated, but only a little bit. But yeah, right now I'm messing around with it, messing with shapes, trying to get that exact shape I want it to have. Striking out repeatedly, striking out some more. These windows are really these windows are really doing me in. It is always the hardest part because that's when you need to get all your shapes just right, and you're also trying to figure out because obviously, as we all know, Stormworks shapes don't always work with the way they do in real life. So sometimes you got to make adjustments and alterations, and trying to figure out how you want to make those alterations to where it still equally resembles what you're working on, but at the same time, kind of adds your own flair to it. And I think having your own flair is kind of my favorite part. Every build seems to have their own kind of unique touch to it. Also, to get it out of the way now, I am not planning on having this ship go to space at the moment. I may make updates for it later, but as of right now, um, I think I'm going to have it be primarily orbital or stay within orbit. Just because, I mean, you can go to the moon and do some missions on the moon, but there's not a whole many reasons to go into outer space other than to do some of the basic missions there. And I want this to be like a heavy transport. Move vehicles around, move containers around. Um, basically being like a heavy lift vessel, capable of doing, moving, moving ores, fluids, containers, vehicles. So I'm planning on keep. Basically, I'm planning on making it reactor powered, and using a bunch of electric lift engines like turbines and then maybe a few special things here and there for special controls. And then, well, I think I found something that I do like. After fiddling with the front end of this thing for so long, just because the front end of this thing is pretty unique. The problem that I'm having now is that the angle is definitely a uh, 4 block triangle, but the problem with it is I'm having a hard time getting the windows to line up right where I want them to line up. So I gotta make some special alterations. There we go. Take that piece, put that there, and yeah. So, anyways, I'm going to try to get that nice curve upwards. I want it to still have the angles and curvatures on the build without it looking, absolutely boxy. But yeah, I want this. I think the primary thing that I'm going to build this thing for is it's going to be able to carry TIE fighters. I know when I did my first Gozanti cruiser, it was horrifically underscaled. Um, and I personally really like trying to build scale builds, and I like the challenge of building scale builds in the building constraints of Stormworks. So obviously you get this much room to work with. Can you make something bigger than that? Hence, like my i400 and various other builds that just kind of origami themselves out of the hangar. This one, though, luckily, this one is actually like perfectly sized for the game. I think. I mean, definitely 64 meters you can work with. Easy to work with, actually, because all I got to do is just all I'm doing is kinking the front end, and well, that's that. I'm also thinking for this cruiser, I'm going to make the turrets automated. So the turrets will automatically shoot at whatever you want them to shoot at. You won't have to aim them like on the CR90 Corvette. I've actually thought heavily about coming back to the Corvette too and changing the weapon systems on it and making them a bit more automated. Unfortunately, though, to come back to those weapons would require a lot of work, mainly because I used robotic pivots for a lot of them, and I would have to replace those robotic pivots with velocity pivots because robotic pivots do not like to follow radar at all. So if the pivot is already in a different position and the PID is already reading in that position, it will actually it'll start to create an issue where the radar will start to look up and the robotic pivot will look down, and so they'll just never lock on or track, depending on what awkward position they get themselves into. I've tried a bunch of different things to fix this and have kind of struck out with it. So I started using velocity pivots for my aiming systems. Um, the downside, like I said, I use primarily robotic pivots, and I need velocity pivots that give me that show me where their direction of travel is. I can most likely get around this by hooking up heading indicators to the turrets, but then the heading indicators would have to run to the ship themselves. And if those heading indicators get damaged at all, it will completely throw off the guns and they won't know where they're looking. So basically, long story short, the turrets would have to be completely rebuilt from almost scratch because I would have to redesign them to fit the larger velocity pivots in there, which is one of the reasons why I haven't fully gotten around to it yet. I also have been going back and trying to fix a lot of other builds, as you guys have probably already noticed. But yeah, as you can see here, I guess getting back to the Gozanti cruiser, you can see it's starting to take some shape here, starting to really get that front end down. So you can kind of, I'm sure it still looks a bit derpy, but you're starting to kind of see the shape come into play here as I just expertly and meticulously, I'm pretty sure that's not a word, as I basically chip away at this thing. But yeah, when this is all said and done, the front end, at least the exterior shaping will be done. Then I'll most likely start working on the fuselage shaping. Basically, I'll frame out the fuselage and then start adding the shapes. Since I am going off the Mandalorian's cruiser versus the original Gozanti cruiser, I feel like the detail, there's going to be a lot more of it. I do feel like the original cruiser was pretty lackluster with detail. This one has a lot of really cool features that I really like, that I'm actually really excited to put together. I really like, and I'm probably going to show it off here in a sec, but I really like those engine nacelles. And those, the air intakes for the rear engines, I think look absolutely awesome, and I cannot wait to get around to building those. Now you can see I'm cheating a little bit more. Looking at those pictures. But yeah, I'd like to try to get it as close to those pictures as possible. I am genuinely excited to finish this project. I'm not sure what I want to work on next. I think I think an ATST could be pretty cool. I really want to work on an ATST. Or I'm sorry, I already built an ATST, an ATTE. There we go. That's the name. An ATTE, the big six-legged Clone Wars walker. There we go. Yeah, I really like working on the walkers. I'd also like to do more AT-AT variants. The only downside is the AT-AT barely fit. I actually, when I built my AT-AT, it was actually underscaled a bit, and I came back and rescaled it. So it's still underscale, but only by a couple meters or by a few meters. The legs are actually 1-to-1 scale, but the fuselage is a little bit short due to it's actually not it. The fuselage is still 1-to-1 scale, but it's not as tall as the original AT-AT, which I'm sure most people have probably noticed. It's a little bit shorter due to the angling with the blocks. That was one of those uh, detail changes because well, there's limitations to what you can do with the shapes, and I wasn't able to get that super tall body like I may have wanted to. But I still think it turned out absolutely fantastic. And since I came back and redid the AT-AT, I absolutely love how it turned out. Anywho, should be about finishing up for this episode now. And yeah, this is the first part of the new Gozanti Cruiser and the Gozanti Cruiser build series. Um, Thank you for taking the time to watch my video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll be working on more of these, so you guys will be able to follow along with the entire Gozanti Cruiser build process. And I'm really excited to start getting into the logic of this build, but until that day comes, You guys have a good one.